So hello everyone again and welcome. So if you are here, this means that you are interested in the webinar for Educational Innovation and Leadership Microdegree, which was announced quite recently by Tallinn University. And shortly I can show you how our structure will be of this session. So firstly, we will introduce to each other, and then we will say what are our goals of the webinar. We will have the questions and answers with the session of the moderator, who is me, and with our speakers. And last but not least, there will be the time when you can ask us any questions related with the microdegree program. So let's start with the introductions. Like from your side, please make sure to use the chat and to type what is your name, what is your profession, from which country you are, and also in case you wish from us to have a connection, please send us your email address as well. And meanwhile, we can also start introductions from our side. Maybe Eve, would you start?
Yes. Welcome everyone, and I'm really anxious to hear your questions and why you are interested in this program, so you can easily chat or write into chat corner. And I'm Eve Eisenschmidt, the Professor of Educational Leadership in Tallinn University.
Okay, and my name is Peter Mehisto, and I'm a research associate with University College London Institute of Education.
And I'm Salome. I'm working at Tallinn University as the Junior Research Fellow, and I'm from Georgia, but currently living in Estonia. And
Eve, you've been working at length in education in Estonia. Perhaps a few words about your background.
Yes, actually I have worked as a teacher at school and also vice principal, but it was some decades ago. Now I have worked at the university almost 30 years. I was vice rector of a university in Tallinn, but also now I am working as full-time professor, and I'm leading actually Educational Innovation and Leadership program, master program. And I'm really happy that now we can also offer this kind of micro degree as an appetizer to get familiar with our program. And if it fits to you, you can also apply for full master program. And I'm also working with several school improvement programs in Estonia. So it has been really exciting to work with schools and principals and teachers. But Peter, you are looking Estonian system from outside.
Yes, both in a way outside and inside, as I've spent just over half of my life outside and just under half inside here in Estonia. I've written several books on bilingual education and at the how to manage it at the school level, classroom level, and the national level. Recently, I've co-written a book on Estonia's PISA success story, published in England, and have, like Eve, in many ways worked at various levels in the education system, including in the Ministry of Education, and have been involved in numerous change initiatives and continue to this day to work with schools, work with various international organizations, and have done a lot of work internationally in educational renewal.
And Salome, actually your background is also very interesting.
So coming from Georgia, I actually started working as the youth worker. So I was very interested in non-formal education, and then I had also interest in formal education. So I was studying at Tallinna State University for education administration. And since it was very exciting to learn so much about education, and I also got very interested what is happening in Europe. And especially because of PISA, I got interested what's happening in Estonia. So that's how I arrived in Estonia in order to study education, innovation, and leadership master's program, and to get more knowledge. And this never ends. And currently I'm trying and I'm working for principals. Like beforehand, I was supporting some teachers, and now I hope that I can support within my PhD work to the Georgian principals as well. But probably we can also go through the goals of the meeting. So as mentioned before, maybe some of you who are our attendees, you are interested, what is the secret of Estonia, why Estonia? And probably you are hearing, especially from the last week, like from the 5th of December, exactly, PISA 2022 results we are published. And Estonian 15-year-olds have the top places in Europe, and you might be interested what is the secret of Estonia's education success story.
And in fact, not only did Estonia perform well this time, it performed well on the previous cycle. And in fact, ever since Estonia started taking part in PISA, its results have steadily improved over the years. So this isn't a flash in the pan, as one would say in English. This is something that has steadily been developing and improving.
Thank you. And another goal of our meeting is that we can introduce you the course, our Microdegree program, what it is, what is behind of it, and how you can apply, and some other technicalities related with that. But last but not least, that we will give you the floor, we will give you the opportunity so that through the end of our meeting, you can ask us the questions. So let us start our questions and answers sessions. And the number one question would be, what is at the root of Estonia's PISA success?
Well, the last time someone asked me that question, a colleague and I sat down and wrote a 298-page book. But let's begin with one key idea. And that is that it's important to, in a sense, loosen controls. In other words, one doesn't need to always be looking over the shoulder of people, but tighten connections, create opportunities, provide lots of structure that really invites people and makes it even a bit of a challenge not for people to connect, to talk, to explain what they're doing. And while also supporting professionalization, because it's not enough to simply create opportunities for networking. You really need to help everyone in the system upskill, from the ministry to the student, to the parent, to the teacher. So if one is going to loosen control, in a sense, but tighten connections, one of the key things is we need to believe in our students and begin to support learner autonomy. And this is something Estonia is really committed to doing, because students aren't there to just do what they're told. They need to think for themselves and become internally, intrinsically motivated to learn. And that's only possible if teachers are provided a fair degree of autonomy. And the latest OECD summary of an analysis of the last PISA results is repeating once again that Estonian teachers have the right to make a lot of decisions by themselves, what material they use, how they assess in the classroom, and so forth. But you can't really have teacher autonomy if the school director or the head teacher or principal is an authoritarian figure. So it's important that the school itself also has autonomy, that the school can make all kinds of decisions, and that people are working together as a team. And importantly, school autonomy and teacher autonomy doesn't just mean let people do what they want. There also has to be state direction and public accountability. It's not a free-for-all. So whereas schools have a lot of autonomy in this country, in Estonia, and teachers a lot of autonomy, and students are encouraged to become independent learners, the state still provides some direction, and there is public accountability. And that's what we mean by tightening the connections. And let me be more specific. So there is a national curriculum, but it's very broad brushstrokes. It's quite general, but provides clear guidance nonetheless. But a school must then develop its own school curriculum based on that national curriculum. That means you cannot simply take orders from above. You actually have to do some thinking yourself. And it's impossible for people in a school to, quite difficult actually, to not have a conversation about what the school curriculum will be and how you will try to work together to support education. And schools are also expected to self-evaluate. The ministry provides some guidance in this, but the idea is if schools are autonomous and we consider people to be professionals, they also need to be able to self-evaluate. So schools, once they've self-evaluated, need to be creating a strategic plan. And based on that strategic plan, they begin to move forward. But the accountability comes in by having a plan, making it public, people can see it, and then there's open access data on achievement, student achievement, and well-being. There's lots of open access data. So one can see very quickly if a school is in difficulty or not. And what is central here is Estonia doesn't waste time inspecting schools that are doing well. It's a very small number of schools that get inspected. Schools instead that are operating well are supported in operating even better. And it's only the schools that are really challenged and in difficulty that are inspected. So one is moving in the direction of professionalization, trying to think of, and the ministry has many initiatives to support, and the universities have many initiatives to support professionalization, to ensure that people can take the responsibility, can use their autonomy collectively and responsibly. So in short, there is no simple solution to educational renewal. It requires taking an ecosystemic approach. In the course, we'll look at very specific mechanisms that have been adopted and might be appropriate for different contexts.
May I, Peter?
Yes.
I wanted to say that probably you know that we have Soviet Union background, and actually this kind of systematic development has taken place 30 years, and we can say that we have done it very systematically, and we have our lessons to learn, what we can also share with you. And of course, it was very nice summary what has happened and what kind of elements are actually contributing to the system. But I also would encourage you to write your questions to the chat corner as Peter is going on with some more ideas. But of course, we can come back to the presentation you just heard.
Yes, a very important point is that indeed to rush reform, as Pasi Salberg from Finland would say, is to ruin it. And certainly Estonia has operated systematically, very goal-oriented, trying to get stakeholder consensus, and made some mistakes along the way, which one has learned from and continues to develop. So yes, I think it's important to take an ecosystemic view and take into account that at the core of that are the students that we're trying to support in their learning. At the next level in this ecosystem, there's the microsystem, the family and home. So there are many things that one could do to work with the family and the home to increase student learning and well-being. There is the mesosystem, the neighborhood and the school, and they also need to be working in a coordinated fashion, or it would be advised that they did. Then there's the community at large and the mass media. I mean, it's important that the mass media is aware of what's going on and is supportive as opposed to undermining the system. And finally, there's national cultural values and legislation. And all of this has to operate, as Eve was showing, across the chronosystem, across time. And indeed, the reform process has been going on since time immemorial, but really for the last 30 years.
So thank you so much. And this is also can be one of the frequently asked questions related with the program. So why might this course, why might this microdegree program can be relevant for the participants from other countries? Because some people obviously know about Estonia, some do not. So this can be quite interesting question for them.
Eva, shall we give the ball to you?
Yes, but I would like to ask from the audience, what do they think about this? Why might this course be relevant for participants from other kind of systems, and probably could be also that totally from other type of systems, from more centralized or even more decentralized systems? Do you have any guess or ideas? Okay, but probably this is something we can also discuss during our program. But what we were thinking about this was following. First, that there are some universal, we may say, principles that have been found to be drivers or triggers for educational reforms, whatever is the system. So basically, we will discuss which principles can be successful or important to follow in any kind of a system. And also we can learn, or we need to learn about leading centralized, we can learn from this, and everybody can reflect and plan for ongoing professional development. So basically, based on learning experience, everybody can reflect her or his own experience and planning own professional development. So,
I would add, if I may, Eva, that in fact, as to your first point that you made, we're simply not, or we will, yes, focus on the Estonian success story, but Estonia's success story is also rooted in international research. Estonia has always tried to take lessons from other countries, has tried to take a very evidence-based approach. So we will not just be talking about Estonia, but indeed education reform elsewhere and what has worked universally.
Yeah, this is very good point, and also every participant brings own experience, and this is also very valuable to reflect and analyze together. So it's not only that the participants will learn, but also teachers or Estonians who will work with you will learn. And what is always one like a feature or key element in our programs, that everybody is planning educational development project for own context. So basically, you are like making something you can use in your own context and implement based on what we have discussed and learned together. So three main elements what we are considering, or we considered while we planned the program, that we have certain core principles which can be used in different contexts. When everybody is learning and developing own professional capacities. And finally, you have something tangible, something takeaway to implement your own context. So it's also very practical. And key goals or main goals of a program, and also this starts from ecosystem that which starts from students learning. We will analyze and discuss what are high impact influences on students learning. So every development work in educational system starts from students' needs. So whatever the level is it the classroom level, school level, or system level, but always we are concentrating on learners. And yeah, please.
We are doing this because we now have such a vast body of research globally. And we have a very good understanding of what tends to work. And importantly, it's possible to measure the impact of certain strategies and influences on learning. So since we now have a good sense of what some of the most powerful influences are, we need to make sure we're taking those into account, because those can help to really move learning forward versus many strategies that work reasonably well, but aren't anywhere near as powerful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you very much. And as our educational psychologists always emphasize, that during recent decade, we have much more knowledge and very scientific-based knowledge about learning processes. So therefore, we always start from a student perspective and also renewing our knowledge. But the second point is again about the system, that we have different educational systems, centralized and decentralized, and we need to understand the differences between those two types, and also to understand what are the consequences of our action choosing one or another type of action or measures or principles we will use. And finally, or another aspect on system level is to understand how educational reform initiatives work, and what are the characteristics of successful or unsuccessful reforms. So from the system level, we need to consider the characteristics of a system, and at the same time to understand how different reforms work, or characteristics of different reforms work on system level.
And very often, some of the same mistakes are made in different contexts, because they are so intuitively seductive. They just feel like they must work. But the research tells us that sometimes it is the counterintuitive solution that is probably the wisest choice. But we will always be trying to root whatever we do in evidence. coming to always back to research, but then always trying to tie that to very practical measures that can be taken to help move a system forward.
Thank you. And you probably already got the impression that we use Estonian educational reform journey as a reference point or benchmarking sort of example, because everybody has her or his own experience, and we can use Estonian educational practices as benchmark or example to analyze, and through the analysis you can also think about your own system and to see what are the similarities or differences, but also to think about the strengths and weaknesses and what are the development needs.
And,
Yeah.
and when I'm sorry, Eva.
Yeah, please go on.
As I see from the questions, there is one question about politics and politicians and another question about ICT. So indeed, we will come to ICT and we will come to the politics of how one works to bring, how politicians have been brought on board in this country and what some of the tensions are when it comes to working with those stakeholders and getting politicians to view education as something above politics. So definitely there's a lot to be learned, whether it's right now, artificial intelligence is raising its head, and there are great opportunities to be had, but there are also many risks that are associated with it. So we can touch upon that. We can touch upon how Estonia is using ICT, what its future plans are as well. Because I think a really important point is that Estonia is very much future focused, and it needs to stay future focused, as any nation does, if it hopes to continue to develop in this rapidly accelerating, more demanding world that we're living in.
And there was also another question from the participant, from the attendee from Kenya, saying that we come from the very diverse social, economic, cultural, and geographical environments, and does this apply to the Estonian population, as this may impact the success of education system? So I guess partly you have already answered to this question, and also with the help of systems as well, what are the influential factors?
I think an important point that we would make is also looking at PISA data when it comes to investment in education, money that is invested. And money isn't always a guaranteed success factor. So there are some countries that invest less and accomplish much more. So it's much more about how you use your money. It's also a question of many other factors, including how much time you invest. There are countries where students spend an enormous amount of time in the classroom, and other countries where they spend a third less and yet achieve much better results. So we will try and look at the diversity, global diversity, and try and pull in some of those lessons, and try in particular to look for those factors that could apply in diverse contexts.
Thank you. And next point in our program, or in a list of key goals of a program, is related to evidence-based development plan. And this is something we really emphasize always, working with schools, but whatever you plan, you need to think about how you get information or be sure that this is actually successful. Or if we are talking about indicators like performance indicators or outcome indicators, when already during the journey in your development work, you need to be very careful and monitoring what is happening to be really relevant to the context and what is happening throughout the process. And the last point is related to your own professional development, that you definitely will have very clear plan what you could do next to develop your capacities and competencies. So those are, please.
Certainly a lifelong process, something that I see Eva doing continually, learning, growing, and something that I feel myself. One has no choice but to keep planning and learning in this volatile, uncertain, ambiguous, complex world we live in.
So, should we take some questions or maybe?
There was the question, for instance, about unsuccessful educational reforms. I believe this is the concern of all the countries nowadays, and especially the ones who might be changing their educational systems quite drastically. So this obviously will be covered in our microdegree program, but if any of you would like to comment on it.
Okay, well, we would try and get into some case studies and look at some examples, but if we go for some pieces that have been problematic or reforms that have been problematic, they have been those where stakeholder consultation has been insufficient, where people and decision makers have made a lot of assumptions without talking sufficiently with the people who will be impacted, who have made assumptions as opposed to looked at evidence, who haven't taken the time to get people to engage with a program. So communication in any change process is key, and it certainly is not going to be by publishing one directive that people are going to change. A lot of teachers, there's teacher shortages around the world. A lot of teachers will just shut their classroom door and do what they want. So the question is how you can get people to engage and come along on the journey. But we'll try and look at some rather specific mistakes where over-testing has had negative backwash effects.
And maybe I would add that we have definitely some like school visits and meetings with different stakeholders, and you definitely will get also some examples of unsuccessful like reforms or development plans, as system is decentralized, so you could easily get impression or examples from one school or another school what they tried but it didn't succeed, and probably the features or characteristics are very similar what Peter mentioned exactly.
And we will look at what happens at national levels, what has worked, what hasn't worked, and in diverse contexts.
And one question is related to autonomy, schools' autonomy, and for example, curriculum development and implementation, and what have been like some challenges we have experienced, and especially in implementation. So this is very good question, because we have a lot of visitors from other countries, and this is one of the key questions that, okay, your schools and teachers have a lot of autonomy, but do they know how to use this autonomy? And then we always learn a lot throughout these kind of discussions, and we also see that autonomy also means that you need to take responsibility, and sometimes it's really, really difficult to take this responsibility.
But there are mechanisms in place as well to ensure that schools have certain funds they can use to draw people in, to support them. So if they don't have the knowledge to, for instance, create a clearer, let's say, a curriculum for integrating several subjects, or if they're not sure how to teach learning skills or how to provide constructive feedback, how to provide feed forward, then it is possible to bring people in to support them. We can show you some models of things schools are doing specifically, how they've structured it. And we can show you those models here, or even models in the UK or elsewhere that are used to foster learner autonomy, because you need structure. It can't just be everybody does what they want to do. You might need a specific time once a week where teachers cooperate in a structured manner. Is it working perfectly everywhere? No, of course not. But it's working quite well in many places. And we'll talk about and we'll work through what works well and what hasn't worked as well.
Mm-hmm. You brought so nicely in basic psychological needs, but autonomy always requires structure. So thanks. But maybe we could also discuss for whom is the program intended, and actually this is in our understanding relevant for many professionals at several levels of educational system. For example, national and local government officials. Could you press button, please? Yes. Who is working on national or state level, but also on local government level, because our debates are on all levels of the ecosystem throughout the program. Then, of course, university academic or non-academic staff members could attend in that program, because this microdegree also helps to design new programs, for example, for principals or teachers, or also bachelor or master level students. And in Estonia, we have many non-governmental organizations who contribute to educational system, and the non-governmental organizations are very important in our system. So also all representatives from those organizations could attend in this program. And of course, teacher educators, because this knowledge could be part of every teacher education program to understand how the system works and what is everybody's responsibility. And of course, school leaders, teachers, and other representatives of general education. And so if you feel that you are belonging to one of those groups, you are most welcome. Yeah, please go on.
If you imagine yourself as the future attendees of microdegree program, then this will be also the question that you might have. What would contribute to your success in the program? And so obviously we are requiring the full participation, because this is something, and this is so essential, that you are successful in a sense that you are taking all the knowledge from us and from each other as well. So you need to attend our online sessions and our physical sessions when it is already in March.
Because we're going to actually be co-constructing are thinking. It's not as if we can simply hand something over to you and assume that you will absorb it all. Everyone absorbs everything through their own filters, so we will have to dialogue and co-construct together.
And also, of course, participation in the class. And this is exactly what Peter has already mentioned. So the learning won't be just alone or isolated, but rather very supportive and very collaborative. And as it was also already mentioned, like as one of the key goals of our program is actually that you are able to plan so that you can develop and you can improve your own educational renewal project plan. And I can assume that probably at your own workplaces, you already have some challenges or some kind of plan. Maybe it's already on the idea level, but we would give you the opportunity so that you can already make it and improve it. And also a technical question, how do I apply? So if you have your phones with you, you can take the QR code scanner there and scan this code, and you will go to our web page. And for this, in order to apply for the program, first of all, you need to use the Google form. You have to fill in the application form. And this application form, Google Forms, is located at our webpage. And by the end of the meeting, our host, Victoria, will also send you the webpage in case you can't scan now the code. And the second very important part is that you need to write and you need to submit maximum 2-page motivation letter to Victoria, and this is her email. And maybe you are wondering what is exactly needed for this motivation letter. But first of all, please state there why you wish to take the part in the program and what kind of knowledge and what kind of skills you will bring to the course. For instance, you might have some work experience, research experience, which you think that this will contribute to the program. And the third point that you need to mention in the letter is how you are hoping to use the knowledge and all the practical essential matters in your workplace and how you can and what you will learn there. So next is also important date is that 8th of January, but of course we encourage you to apply beforehand and not exactly on 7th of January or 6th of January, but rather take your time, but also make sure to apply before this date so that we are able to respond to you also in a timely manner. And the question about the scholarships, who is eligible? So for now, we have the scholarships for the citizens of Georgia, Ukraine, and Kenya. And we are able to cover the tuition fee for 15 participants at this moment, and also their living expenses and their travel costs will be covered as well. And for your information, the scholarships are provided by ESTE, which is the Estonian Center for International Development. And important dates, this is also something that you might be interested in to know. So as I have mentioned, the deadline for application is 8th of January. We will be able to send you the feedback, like the acceptance letters or rejection letters until 16th of January. And then we will already have our first online session on 22nd of January. So we will meet each other on Zoom. And the second online session will be held on 29th of January. And then we have already the physical meeting. So you will arrive in Tallinn, from 14th of March, so 2 weeks basically until 15th of March. So 2-week on-site visit will be here at Tallinn University, and you will also visit other educational institutions. And then already during the summer, we will have fun in terms of having some sessions online, just 3 days, so 10th, 11th, and 12th of June. So we will complete our program online as well. And also, one of the key questions that also was asked during the chat. Exactly what was the part of the university. So basically, this is again the similar question that can be interesting for you, like how Tallinn University is shaping the pace of education and how has it done it in the past and how it is helping to enhance the quality of education in the future. So probably Eve would like to comment on it as well.
Yeah, just I put some information here, or how to say, our schemes about the future school program. But of course, responding to this question, we should start from degree programs. But we are our university's main teacher education provider in Estonia, although Estonia is small and we have 2 universities offering teacher education. But Tallinn University has been historically already teacher education oriented university, and also carrying out research on a field of education and teachers' professional development and school improvement and etc. But my favorite, my baby, is future school program, and this also allows us to work very closely with schools, and we have developed this kind of methodology since 2016-17, so almost like 10 years. And of course, we can work closely with schools because first there is demands on state level that all universities contribute to school improvement and school development, and also schools have high sort of readiness to innovate, and the university has vision that research is not only like very poor research and aiming to publish high-ranked journals, but really working closely with schools, sort of applied science-oriented research. But that's it, what I wanted to say about our background and our current work.
I would point out another thing, that nationally, Estonia has also invested into universities so that universities can become real centers of excellence and have become centers of excellence. So Eva, you always seem to be flying off somewhere and your colleagues are off somewhere. And when I speak with colleagues here at this university, they're constantly, someone has gone off and worked for several months in the United States with key players in education. Someone else has gone off to work with somebody in a top university in Finland or elsewhere in Europe. So that is also part of your own success story, I think, in a sense that you're, and I'm repeating myself, I know, but that you're investing a great deal into your own development.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I really appreciate your reflection. But maybe now some more questions. I wouldn't go to this, Salome.
Okay. Yes, so exactly the time for the questions from the audience. For instance, we received one question about what are the major challenges of Estonian education system reforms and how can that be applied to the Kenyan context, and what are the salient features learned which can help us on our walk in education reforms in Kenya. So this is again the question of 2 different contexts, 2 different cultures, and how the knowledge about the challenges of reforms can be useful.
Well, the very first thing I would say is that we're not experts in the Kenyan education system. And this is the expertise that you will bring to the course. What we can do is discuss what was done in Estonia, and sometimes with relatively limited resources, and some of the challenges Estonia has faced, and how change has been instituted in other countries as well, and how sometimes it's not the most expensive initiative that provides the answer.
Also, there is the question about the language education. If we are going to discuss during our microdegree program, the language education and how it influences on education. Obviously, during the site visits at schools, this topic will be covered.
Certainly when it comes to the medium of instruction and bilingual, trilingual education, and the one thing I can say is I've helped nationally establish a bilingual program in this country and have seen it and have worked in a very systematic way to get it off the ground and then moved on to do other things and seen how parts of it have flourished and parts have not necessarily. So, and written several books for Cambridge on this topic. So this is a topic I would be able to address or direct you at least to further information that you might find helpful.
Yeah, I was also thinking that while everybody working own professional development plan, what you'd like to implement in your own context, of course, we try to, or we will help you, or we guide you how to find materials or information related to the topic which interests you.
So in other words, we're going to try to create a kind of a market or a supermarket or a
buffet
where you can, yes, where you can shop in a sense, see, aha, these are options, these have worked in these contexts, these are things that haven't worked well, these are danger zones, these are pitfalls, these are commonly made mistakes. And here's something that might work in one context, but might not work in the other. And I think we'd also try to talk about how you build context, because we don't always have to just accept our context. We can also begin to slowly change it. And I think that's one of the things that's happened in this country and in others.
Interesting supermarket. I used to be in different kind of.
And we also have another quite specific question about learner-centered approach. And one of the attendees is interested, how was it achieved in Estonia, in our educational system, and how is the quality and amount of this learning measured? So measurement, also very important topic. And what percentage of learning is the teacher fully involved? So this obviously covers partly the learner's autonomy topic.
Yeah, and somebody also wrote about the Estonian students' high sense of self-efficacy, which came out from recent PISA results. And those topics or themes coincide. So probably we can discuss those further. But yeah, students-centered approach is very, very broad and could be understood very, very differently. But yeah, definitely this is our focus. We start from students' needs and interest and development.
So the curriculum itself is also focused on building learner autonomy and building cross-curricular basic competencies that allow one to learn. So recently, for instance, I've been working with one school to, as they're trying to define which learning skills are we going to emphasize in the 9th year of school, and which learning skills in the 10th year of school. How will we know that has been done? How will we teach those? So you asked what one of the challenges was. One of the challenges is, in this case, the school has a broad understanding of what some of the learning skills are. They're clearly teaching some of them, but they needed to have and develop a deeper level understanding of it and develop a kind of a coordinated program. So let me give you an example, simply planning. One can begin to teach planning from kindergarten. In Reggio Emilia, for instance, children plan their work, even though they cannot read or write yet. A teacher will give them 6 pictures, and they put them in the right order, so they plan the activity they're about to do. So if planning becomes a skill, then you need to think through all the way through your system how you're going to help students to plan. And therefore, we have certain things in the curriculum, like an independent project that has to be done in the 8th or 9th year of school, or the 11th and the 12th year of school, which really encourages independent work. Means you have to plan, assess your drafts, present your work, get feedback on it. And it actually goes on the report card. And it goes into the school library, usually. So I see we have 4 minutes left. Your great question. We'll work to try and answer it in the course.
Yeah, because we also have the question about the intrinsic motivation of the student. And I believe it's obviously connected with all the important matters that you have mentioned already, and with the student engagement and which subject we are talking about, and at which age of the students we are talking about. We also had the questions about the politics, in a sense of like attitude change of education reforms, though I'm not sure whether it is about from the governmental side probably, or from the teacher side. And we also have the question, I'm just trying to quickly scan the questions, like about the teacher autonomy and learner autonomy as well. And there is a question about how is training of curriculum implementation is being handled for effective implementation of new curriculum. So again, here we have the Kenyan context. And there is a question about effectiveness of teacher to teach practicums without straining on costs involved.
But Salome, I guess that we just need to save those questions. And those are very good for us to also to prepare for sessions, and also including the questions you raised to the program.
Mm-hmm.
Because indeed, it's a complex world. The research coming out on using these in the classroom and simply their presence in the room, how they can help and how they can cause serious damage. The research on how students' focus is stolen nowadays very often by TikTok and by these devices, and how that undermines one's capacity to think critically. We're talking about a very complex world, and we will try and bring order to that complexity and try to suggest what are some of the key things one does need to focus in on to reform a system and to make sure we're not behind the times. So make sure we're also thinking about ICT and AI. AI's influence right now on education is enormous. And it is possible to focus on making sure it becomes an opportunity and not a major hindrance. But that's all, I think, going to be when we meet. But we will also, I think, try to survey you, those people who are accepted to the course. We'll try and survey you, I think, to try and get a better understanding of your wants and needs and how they fit the structure of the program.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, all these questions are exactly very important, especially like context-wise and depending on what challenges you have been experienced at your schools. And I would like, and we all would like to say thank you a lot, so that you dedicated your time so that you attended our webinar. And I will also want to ask to Victoria, who already shared the link. So this is the link to our microdegree program. Please make sure to open it in your browsers to read what is the program again about, and all the related details are located on this page. And I do hope, and we do hope, that this webinar has been useful for you and you have gained maybe some new ideas, new inspirations, and new knowledge, and hopefully some of you probably will decide to apply for the microdegree program itself.
Yeah, thank you very much, because you also gave some inspiration for us to design and develop the program.
Absolutely. So on my behalf as well, thank you.
Yeah.
And we look forward to meeting some of you in person, first online, and working with you in Tallinn, learning from you, creating an environment to ensure you learn from each other as well, and making sure we bring to you leading edge, cutting edge knowledge that you will be able to use.
And please check also the full master program, Educational Innovation and Leadership, probably this is close to microdegree, and I mean in web page, and you find the information how to apply for this program. And let's wave and smile then finally.
Thank you for participating, and the recording will be shared with you within the week.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone.